They say one person's trash is another person's treasure. But I never imagined my ex-boyfriend's cruelest insult would become my greatest victory. The painting he literally threw in the garbage just sold for more money than he will make in 3 years. My name is not important now, but my story might save someone else from giving up on their dreams. I am 35 years old. Former barista. Self-taught artist. Current object of whispered fascination at a prestigious New York auction house. And the subject of a sold-out exhibit called Discarded Desires. But let me rewind this nightmare-turned-fairy tale. Because not too long ago, I was standing in my ex-boyfriend's garage, holding a half-finished painting in my trembling hands, trying desperately not to let the tears fall while he laughed at my most vulnerable creation. The memory still cuts through me like shattered glass. Seriously? This looks like something a raccoon would reject after rolling around in a dumpster. You are wasting your time on this pathetic excuse for art. No one wants your weird trash paintings. No one will ever pay money for this garbage. His name was Xander Cross. He called himself an entrepreneur, which mostly meant he wore muscle shirts that were 2 sizes too small, had a podcast about discipline and success that 12 people listened to, and called himself a visionary while living entirely off his mother's mortgage payments. I had just spent the last 2 months pouring my insomnia, my heartbreak, my therapy breakthroughs, and every ounce of my soul into canvas after canvas. The paintings were messy, abstract, layered with torn journal pages, pressed flowers that had died, melted candle wax, and fragments of my shattered life. And yes, they were not conventionally pretty. They were not meant to be pretty. They were meant to be real. But when he grabbed the biggest piece, the one I had worked on for 3 weeks straight, a chaotic explosion of red and black swirls with actual broken glass sealed in clear resin. When he grabbed that piece of my heart and soul, and tossed it directly into the alley dumpster like it was moldy leftovers. That was the moment I knew with crystal clarity. Xander Cross was absolute trash. My art? Not even close. The sound that painting made when it hit the metal bottom of that dumpster will haunt me forever. It was not just the sound of canvas and wood hitting steel. It was the sound of dreams being crushed. The sound of someone you trusted taking your deepest vulnerabilities and treating them like refuse. I moved out that very night, packing what I could fit in my ancient Honda Civic, while he slept off his beer and his cruelty. I crashed on my best friend Kinsley's couch in her tiny Brooklyn apartment. She was the one who first saw the magic in my so-called trash. Kinsley was also the one who posted a photo of one of my pieces on Instagram. The one Xander had accidentally smeared with coffee during one of his careless moments, with a caption that would change everything. My girl paints pain like poetry. DM me if you want a piece before the Museum of Modern Art discovers her. We got 5 DMs that first day. Then 10. Then 20. Then a local gallery owner named Marcus reached out, offering me a Thursday night slot right after a children's watercolor class. It was not glamorous, but hey, a wall is a wall. And I was desperate to prove that my art meant something to someone. I priced each painting at $50. Ridiculously low, but I needed validation more than money. They sold out before I finished my first cup of the free boxed wine. People cried looking at my paintings. Actually cried. One woman, probably in her 60s with silver hair and kind eyes, told me through tears, "It is like you painted my divorce." Every brushstroke captures exactly how it felt when my world fell apart. Another woman younger, maybe in her 30s, stared at one particular piece for 20 minutes before whispering, "I see my miscarriage in these colors. I see my grief. I see my healing. How did you know?" I did not know what to say. I had painted my pain, but somehow I had painted theirs too. Word spread like wildfire through Brooklyn's art scene. I started selling original pieces, then prints for people who could not afford the originals, then commissions from people who wanted me to paint their own stories of loss and recovery. One night, feeling brave and maybe a little vindictive, I posted a TikTok video. I showed the coffee-stained corner of that first painting that had survived Xander's casual destruction. I told the story of how my ex-boyfriend had thrown my art in the trash, called it worthless, told me I was wasting my time. He said no one would ever want my weird trash art. I said to my phone camera, holding up that precious damaged corner, "Well, this weird trash art just paid my rent for 3 months." The video exploded. It hit 4.3 million views in 3 days. Comments poured in from artists, from people who had been told their dreams were worthless, from anyone who had ever been made to feel small by someone who claimed to love them. "Your ex is an idiot," one comment read. "Your art speaks to my soul. Please tell me you sent him the link to this video," said another. "Trauma creates the most powerful art," wrote someone else. "Thank you for sharing your pain with us." But the comment that made me cry was simple. "You turned your wounds into windows. Thank you for showing us it is possible." The art world noticed. Gallery owners started calling. Art collectors began following my Instagram. Magazine writers wanted interviews about the artist who turned heartbreak into high art. And then the call came that changed everything. "Hello, this is Victoria Steinberg from the Meridian Gallery in Soho. We would like to offer you a solo exhibition. We have been following your work, and we believe you have something truly special." A solo show. In Soho, the same neighborhood where I used to serve overpriced lattes to people who looked exactly like the person I was about to become. Fast forward to last month. I am standing in a high-ceilinged, white-walled room that feels like a temple to artistic achievement. My solo show, Discarded Desires, is having its opening night. Every single piece is framed in sleek black wood and lit like holy scripture. The invitation list includes art critics, collectors, celebrities, and journalists. People are drinking champagne that costs more per bottle than I used to make in a week. They are discussing my raw emotional authenticity and my fearless exploration of feminine trauma transformed into triumph. I am wearing a black dress that actually fits properly, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I belong in my own skin. That is when he walks in. A man wearing a gallery staff badge. Balding now, broader around the middle, walking with a slight limp that I do not remember from before. Xander Cross. He is working here. At the gallery. Probably in some entry-level position, judging by his uncomfortable-looking uniform polo shirt, and the way he keeps glancing nervously at the real staff members. He does not recognize me right away. My hair is different now, professionally styled. I am wearing makeup done by someone who actually knows what they are doing. I look like success, like someone who matters, like someone whose art belongs on these pristine white walls. But more than that, I carry myself differently. I stand taller. I speak with confidence. I am not the broken woman who used to cry in his garage while he destroyed my dreams. He wanders through the exhibition, probably on some kind of work assignment, holding a clipboard and looking bored. He stops at various pieces, squinting at the price tags with what looks like disbelief. And then he reaches the centerpiece of the entire show. The painting called "You Called It Trash." It is a canvas painted in ash, soil, and clear resin, with textures that catch the light in ways that make viewers lean in closer. But embedded right in the center, preserved like an ancient artifact, is the original coffee-stained, torn corner of the piece he tried to destroy 3 years ago. The museum placard next to it reads, "Mixed Media on Canvas," incorporating salvaged materials from the artist's personal collection. This piece represents the transformation of discarded elements into objects of beauty and value. The embedded fragment serves as both memoir and metaphor, proving that what others see as worthless may simply be waiting for the right context to reveal its true worth. Xander stops dead in his tracks. He squints at the painting, then at the placard, then back at the painting. I can literally see the moment recognition dawns on his face. His mouth falls open slightly. His clipboard trembles in his hands. He looks around the room, probably searching for me. And when his eyes finally land on my face, the shock is written across every feature. "Is this?" he starts to say, his voice barely above a whisper. I smile. Not a bitter smile. Not a vengeful smile. Just a smile of pure, crystalline satisfaction. "Yes," I say calmly. "That one is reserved for auction tomorrow night." The auction. The piece that he threw in the trash, that I rescued and rebuilt and transformed, is going up for auction at one of the most prestigious houses in the city. The bidding starts at $10,000. It sells for $84,300. $84,000 for something he called garbage. I watch from the auction house balcony as the gavel comes down. The buyer is a prominent collector who specializes in contemporary feminist art. She later tells me she was drawn to the piece because it represents the resilience of the creative spirit in the face of dismissal and destruction. Meanwhile, Xander is still working his shift at the gallery, emptying wine cups into trash bins and restocking the bathroom with paper towels. I see him through the window as my taxi pulls away, still wearing that uncomfortable polo shirt, still looking like someone who peaked in college and never figured out what came next. I do not feel sorry for him, but I do not feel angry anymore either. I feel free. The success of You Called It Trash opens doors I never imagined existed. Art collectors start commissioning pieces specifically about transformation and resilience. Museums begin reaching out about group exhibitions focused on contemporary trauma narratives. A documentary filmmaker wants to make a movie about my story. A publisher offers me a book deal to write about turning pain into profit, about finding your voice after someone tries to silence it. But the moment that means the most happens 3 months after the auction. I am back in Brooklyn, visiting Kinsley, when a young woman approaches me on the street. She is maybe 22, with paint under her fingernails, and that particular look of creative desperation I remember so well. "Excuse me, are you the artist who did Discarded Desires? I saw your TikTok video about your ex throwing your art away." I nod. "I just wanted to say thank you. My boyfriend has been telling me my photography is a waste of time, that I should focus on something practical. But after seeing your story, I entered one of my photos in a competition. I won first place and a $1,000 prize." She shows me the photo on her phone. It is stunning, a black and white image of urban decay that somehow captures hope in the midst of destruction. "Your story taught me that maybe the people who call our art trash are just scared of what we might become if we keep creating." I give her my card and tell her to email me her portfolio. 6 months later, I help her get her first gallery showing. Because that is what happens when you refuse to let other people define your worth. You do not just save yourself. You create space for others to be saved too. The gallery where Discarded Desires was exhibited now has a permanent installation featuring one of my pieces. Visitors often ask about the story behind it, and the staff has trained to explain how it represents the journey from artistic rejection to validation. But I have learned something important. The validation that matters most does not come from auction prices or gallery walls or strangers on the internet telling you that your art matters. It comes from the moment you decide that your voice deserves to be heard, regardless of who is listening. It comes from the moment you choose to create anyway, even when someone you trusted calls your dreams garbage. It comes from understanding that the people who try to crush your spirit are usually just terrified of their own creative emptiness. Xander Cross was wrong about my art. But he was wrong about something much more important. He was wrong about me. I used to sign my name small, in tiny letters hidden in the bottom corner of my paintings, like I was apologizing for taking up space. Now my signature stretches boldly across the entire canvas. Because I learned that pain is not trash. Dreams are not trash. And neither am I. I am an artist. I transform broken things into beautiful things. I take what others discard and reveal its hidden value. And sometimes, the most precious treasures are found in the places where others only see garbage. The last time I saw Xander, he was still working at that gallery, still wearing that uncomfortable uniform, still looking like someone who had given up on his own dreams so long ago that he could not recognize them in others. I do not know if he ever listened to his own podcast about discipline and success. But I hope someday he learns what I learned. That calling someone else's dreams trash says nothing about their dreams, and everything about your own fear of dreaming. My art hangs in galleries now. It sells for prices that would have seemed impossible when I was crying in that garage, holding my broken paintings and wondering if I was fooling myself. But the real victory is not the money or the recognition, or the satisfaction of proving him wrong. The real victory is that I kept creating anyway. The real victory is that I trusted my own vision more than his doubt. The real victory is that I learned to see beauty in broken things, starting with myself. And now, every time someone tells me my art speaks to them, every time someone says they see their own story reflected in my paintings, every time someone finds healing in the same pain that once nearly destroyed me, I remember that moment in the garage. I remember the sound of my painting hitting the bottom of that dumpster. And I smile. Because that sound was not the sound of something ending. It was the sound of something beginning. If you found inspiration in this story of turning rejection into recognition, of transforming pain into profit, please subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories of people who refused to give up on their dreams. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because everyone deserves to hear stories that remind them their dreams are worth fighting for. Your support helps us share more stories of triumph over adversity, and who knows, your story might be next.